So this is going to be my new mushroom bed. For the past few months I've been inoculating some woodchip just in a pile at the front of my plot, and it's spread throughout the whole lot now and I think it's ready. So this is a raised bed that I used to grow my potatoes in for the past few years, and I've emptied it and moved it to a bit more of a shaded area. This is a little hedgerow that gets quite green in summer and a little bit taller, so this spot is quite shaded, so it'd be perfect for growing mushrooms. So my first point of call is to level this bed out a little bit because it's a bit skew with, and then I'm going to line it with some cardboard and transport some of the woodchip that I've been inoculating from the front of my plot into the bed, and I'm probably going to line it with some fresh woodchip and also some logs as well, and hopefully over the next few months that will spread out through the whole bed, and fingers crossed at the end of summer I'll get some lovely oyster mushrooms. So the mushroom spawn that I used to inoculate the woodchip was from an old kit that I got from a company called Marvellous Mushrooms, and I get all of my kits from them, they're really, really good. But this particular kit was a king pearl oyster, and I've never grown those before, and I absolutely loved them. But when the bag was spent, I just chucked it into this pile of woodchip that I had. I couldn't be bothered to spread it out, and I just knew that I'd leave it there for a few months, so I thought that I would just chuck the kit in and see if it took, and it did. The woodchip is quite white now, it's quite full of mycelium. So I'm going to be transferring that over into this bed here and grabbing some of the logs from the front of the allotment as well. So I've just levelled this bed out a little bit and it's looking a lot straighter, and the next thing I'm going to do is actually split the bed up into two because it's quite big, and I've probably only got enough woodchip for maybe half of it, so just so it's not completely spread out I'm going to split it into two and try and grow two different strains of oyster mushrooms, because I've actually already got a different type of oyster mushroom ready to go as well. To create a little bit of a barrier I'm going to be using this piece of slate and this piece of plastic just to kind of separate the two and just make it a little bit more difficult for the mycelium to traverse over into the other side of the bed. So the second strain of mushroom is actually a wild mushroom, or one that grew just over on my field maple tree over there. So I just ripped up pieces of it and put it into some cardboard inside a margarine tub, and that was back in January now, and it's completely eaten through all of the cardboard and it's definitely ready for its next stage. So what I'm going to do is just try and grow two different mushrooms side by side in this, and just use this slate and this plastic as a little bit of a barrier. Next up I'm just lining this with cardboard, and that's just again to create a little bit more of a barrier from whatever species of mushroom have already taken over the woodchip layer beneath the soil. Most likely my wine cup mushrooms, but just by putting a couple layers of cardboard down it helps it a little bit, and it gives it a bit more time for the oysters to take hold. This has still got a bit of tape on it, so just make sure that comes off so it doesn't end up in my compost, because this actually ends up making really great garden compost, mushroom compost. You can actually pay quite a bit of money for bags of mushroom compost, so this is actually a great way of making your own. Right, I've got these logs that have been cut down maybe about 3 weeks ago, so they're pretty fresh. It's quite important that you use woodchip and logs that are semi-fresh in the past month that they've been cut down, just because it reduces the risk of any other mushroom species already taking up inhabitants inside. But to be honest with you, the oyster mushrooms, the pleurotus species, they do tend to be quite vigorous and aggressive growers, so it shouldn't be a problem for them to take up space. So if you are familiar with hugelkultur, then this is a pretty similar process, and it's just about layering the logs down first and layering in the woodchip and then the organic matter, and then traditionally you'd put the soil on top, but I think I'm just going to keep layering it up with more woodchip, and I may plant some sort of plants in here. I haven't quite decided yet because it won't get too much sunlight, so I need to decide what might be quite good here growing in the shade, perhaps some hostas or something. So next up is my wood chip layer, and I don't know how I'm going to tip this in. I might need to get a bucket, or maybe I could just come around the back and tip it. Kind of worked. So even if the mushrooms didn't take, and I have no doubt that they will, this will still provide you with some awesome compost by next year. This will all break down and provide really, really great substrate for directly growing in. So it's kind of a win-win really. So now this is all compacted, I'm just going to fill up another barrel of wood chip, and I'm going to put another half in here just to kind of level it all out a little bit, and then I'm going to start layering in my substrate or my inoculated wood chip. So this little wood chip pile here is the pile that I bunged my mushroom kit in, probably back in October now. And if I scrape away some of this, you can see all of the mycelium, and it's proper taken hold. You can see all of these little white threads, and this is the mycelium, and it's likely from the kit that I put in there. I mean, it could very well be something else, but it is very much likely that that is the kit because this is the spot in which I put it. And then if I pull some away down here, you can see a really, really big mound of mycelium there in this wood chip. So I think this is all ready to come up now and then transplant in my bed at the back. So now I'm just removing clumps of this wood chip, trying not to disturb it a great deal, and then I'll transport it back into the mushroom bed at the back. So you can see here, oh God, there's a big old worm here. I don't want to crush you, little guy. You're just about saved. And you. That's why I hate digging. You always hurt worms and things. Wow, look at that big clump there. Oh my gosh, hang on, let me move the camera and show you. Wow, look. So this here is a really, really great example of why every gardener should grow mushrooms in their wood chip paths, because it really helps to create a great soil structure. All of the little mycelial threads, they hold together and bind together all of the wood chip and the organic matter, just create a really solid and dense soil structure for your plants to grow in. Look at this. So that would be great to add into the mushroom bed. I have no doubt this is going to fruit. This is one of the very many reasons that I grow mushrooms along my paths, in my vegetable beds, and pretty much anywhere I can put them really. This is absolutely teeming with life. There's millipedes and little tiny bugs and everything on here. Look at it! That is a really huge chunk. Some of these mounds here are so dense of mycelium that I can't actually get the spade through it. Can you see how white and beautiful this is? Same with this big old clump here as well. It's really holding together all of this soil. Well, actually this is wood chip, and this has been left here for about 6 months, and it's just turned into soil and compost now. This is amazing. It's really taken hold here. I wasn't expecting it to take over so much of the wood chip in just a few months. And all this is, like I say, was just a spent bag of oyster mushrooms that I got as a kit. So once you're done with your mushroom kit, you can just bang it into your compost bin or into a pile of wood chip like I've done here, and then you can keep growing the mushrooms in your garden. I think that should probably be enough to top the bed off now. So let's go over and finish it off. So I'm just going to lay these big clumps down that I collected and then just dot them about and then lay more wood chip on the top of that. This is heavy. That is one completely full, huge bed of king pearl oyster mushroom substrate. And I'm hoping by the end of summer I'll have some lovely mushrooms to harvest. I can see lots of little composting worms in this already. So this is going to make really, really good mushroom compost, probably in about a year's time. Right, so now I'm just going to top this off with some fresh wood chip and then fingers crossed for a lovely harvest of summer mushrooms. But if you would like to find out how this goes, then make sure to subscribe because I'll be posting some updates of this in the coming months. Happy mushroom growing!